Hello, welcome back to Petrolblog's Rubbish YouTube channel. I have a secret I want to share with you. It's not exactly a well-kept secret because if you follow me on social media, you have my apologies. But also I've been sort of teasing this for a while, sort of cryptic messages and just sort of random photos. But I've actually owned this Safrane since October last year. I was gifted it. It was given to me by my dear friend, good friend, Mike Bennett, serial Safrane owner, Club Petrolblog member, and all-round good egg. This was his car until October last year. It was one of two Safranes he owned. He now doesn't own any Safranes. When I first met him, he had two Safranes. He doesn't own any Safranes now, which is unforgivable. But to cut a very long story short, Mike lent me his Austin 3 litre for a classic retro modern feature last summer, and I had that car for a few weeks. And after the shoot had been done and everything, we were having a pint together in a pub, and I think it was on the way back, or certainly within the conversation, he says, "Well, one day this Safrane will be yours." And I kind of taken aback by the comment, did a kind of a Hugh Grant shuffle and I don't know about that. And I didn't really think much of it until I think it was a few weeks later, maybe a month later, when he said, "The Safrane's yours. The keys are under the wheel arch. It's at the garage. It needs a lot of work. I bought a Volvo, so take it away." And that was October last year, and he did send me a list of all the faults, and it was quite an extensive list. Chief among which steering rack, needed a replacement steering rack. Lots of rust underneath. It's off the top of my head. Near side rear brakes were faulty, or something wrong with that. Lots of minor niggles. I think the brake disc at the front needed doing, brake pads. It needed a lot of work. I had totaled it up, and it's going to be a 4-figure sum, which is the kind of figure you don't mention to your wife when you say you've been given a free Safrane. But by the way, the reason I'm staying relatively static is because it is actually quite windy out there. It's been windy. We've had wall-to-wall sunshine for weeks. It feels like weeks, but the wind has made it impossible to shoot videos on my rudimentary microphone and iPhone setup without deafening you with buffeting. So apologies, I'm quite static. I'll try and put some photographs over the top of this to make it more interesting. Random photos of random stuff, goats, horses, whatever, trees. But where was I? Yes, so we inherited this car. Inherit is a loose term. Mike's still alive, thank goodness. In October, drove it back from the garage, and it was a kind of a repeat of when we bought the 200-pound Safrane back from London in a very shortened form. It's about a 15-mile drive back from the garage to our house, and I think my son and I, which sounds like a movie, doesn't it? Or sounds like a musical. My son and I can't remember was it Yul Brynner? I've said that name completely wrong. Yul Brynner, is that his name? Anyway, my son and I were grinning from ear to ear on the way home, because I have to confess, Mike basically said to me, "It's yours if you want to strip it for spares," because at the time I needed a windscreen. More on that soon in another video. He said, "If you want the windscreen and take out what you need and then scrap it, be my guest." But by the end of the journey home, my son and I had realised that actually this car is too good to scrap. Stickers available in the shop somewhere on the internet. And then it was fine. Ran it for a week or two, enjoyed it, loved it. Didn't mention anything on social media because I was in my YouTube exile at the time. And then the near side brake caliper got to the point where it was leaking so badly that the car was basically kaput. And then we had the issue about the steering rack, which at the time sounded like it needed to be removed, shipped up to a company in Birmingham to be rebuilt, shipped back. It was all going to become really expensive. Actually, remanufacturing or rebuilding the steering rack wasn't that expensive. It was the case of the car being on ramps or on a lift for the duration of the time it would be up in Birmingham that was causing the issue, and the labour costs, etc. So yeah, so it kind of got mothballed a little bit. And then until February this year, my mum's birthday. Happy birthday, Mum. Bit late, but I did wish you a happy birthday at the time. I'm not that much of a bad son. Point is, I left it there on February the 8th, and it took about 3 months for anything to happen after that. It failed do you know what? It didn't fail as bad as we thought it would. It didn't fail on the steering rack, which is a surprise to everyone. It failed on the near side rear brake, we knew that. It failed on the front brakes, we knew that. It also failed on emissions, didn't know that, or that it could have been a symptom of the fact that it had been stood for a long time. This is a really roundabout way of introducing my new Safrane. And I haven't even told you what engine it is. I mean, on social media, you'll know it's the 2.5 litre Volvo engine. Because I think it's one of motoring's best kept secrets that the Phase 2 Safrane was available as a 5-cylinder. And obviously it makes it the best Safrane. And actually I did a post on Petrolblog, 10 best Safranes. I'll put a link in the description. And if I had to choose my 3 favourite Safranes, obviously top would be bi-turbo. That's the kind of everyone's dream Safrane, or most people's dream Safrane. Followed by a Phase 1 V6. Ideally 4-wheel drive, but not necessarily, and then a Phase 2 5-cylinder. And bearing in mind, you couldn't get a bi-turbo in this country. This is probably peak Safrane in the UK for me, because I love 5-pot engines. It's only the second 5-pot engine I've ever owned. I owned an original S6, and that was a beautiful engine. And this 2.5 20 valve engine is a peach. One of the attractions of the car, aside from the fact that it was free, was that in February 22, this car, which done 99,000 miles by the way, so it's relatively low mileage, was given a full service, and that included a timing belt, the aux belt, water pump, various bits and pieces, a bit of welding, various bits and pieces, and the bill came to £1,200. And the engine on this is pretty good. In fact, it's very good. So that's obviously an attraction. It's a little bit like the Camry, which is just over there, currently sawn. Not sure when Adam's going to take it. Maybe next month. Who knows? Anyway, hello Camry. See you in a bit. I don't know why I'm talking to my Camry. It's lucky I'm on my own up here. It's just me and the birds and the goats. Anyway, so that was an appealing factor. The fact that it'd just been serviced. If nothing else, the parts could be used for the black Safrane, which is obviously my favourite Safrane, but I just had to whisper that in front of the Barley Gold one. So this is ours. It's on the road now. It took 3 months from the date I took it in for its MOT, and the MOT was literally one of those, send it in for an MOT, see how bad it is, and then make a decision. And actually, it wasn't bad enough to say, no, I'm going to give up on it. And I kind of owed it to Mike. I wanted to do it for Mike to get this car, keep this car on the road. Because one day, Mike, you might want this back. You know, you might get bored of big, safe, reliable Volvos and think, I need something French in my life, and you know, this has got your name on it. Not literally, he didn't sign it, although I probably should have asked him to sign the glove box or something like that. Anyway, I digress. Mugs coming soon. I keep promising to do mugs if I digress on. Would anyone want one? No? No one at the back? No? No? Tie and pen set? Signed photograph of Sue Cook? Right, okay, no takers. Safrane connoisseurs will see that it's not a particularly original example. It's wearing a set of 17-inch, and I probably got this pronunciation wrong, Luxor alloy wheels from the Laguna. And I have to say, from certain angles, and I'm going to say static actually because I can put a photo in afterwards, from certain angles it looks great. I'm not convinced in profile that it works. They just look a little bit big, they look a bit out of period. I could live with that. What I can't live is the ride quality, because, you know, Safrane should have big sidewalls and small alloys, even small steelies. These just don't work. The ride quality is, I would say, half as good as the black Safrane. I drove around in this for a couple of weeks, or week or two after the MOT, and that was before I put the black Safrane back on the road. Spoiler alert, video coming soon. And I thought, this isn't as comfortable as I remember. And then I jumped into the black Safrane and I thought, now it all makes sense. The black Safrane is streets ahead of this in terms of comfort. So I was umming and ahhing about what to do with these wheels. And I'm going to say static. But going a few weeks back on a trip to see my mum, hit a massive pothole, which we all do day in, day out, because our roads are atrocious. If anyone uses Waze, it's now a constant pothole reminder service. That's all it is nowadays. Near side front alloy wheel, got home, noticed a massive bulge in the tyre, and I just took that as a sign. So these wheels are going to be coming off. I'll be selling these wheels, and I'll be putting smaller, genuine Safrane wheels on with bigger tyres, or bigger sidewall tyres, so comfort will be resumed. So they're an upgrade. They're a modification. You'll see the modification. There's a Renault flag with French flag badge. I'm not particularly a fan of those. They faded badly, so they'll be coming off. Mike was never sure if this was a genuine Questor. If it was a genuine Questor, it would have satellite navigation. Obviously, potentially that could have been ripped out at some point, but I don't see any evidence that this was ever a Questor. So I think it's just got some Questor badges on. I could be wrong, happy to be proven wrong, but they'll be coming off as well. It's also got window reflectors or window deflectors on the front. Not a big fan of those. They might come off, jury's out on those. And also it's got Euro style headlight upgrade and grille. Not sure about the grille, that might stay, although I do prefer the black Safrane's grille. Headlights will stay for now because the lights are really good, but I do have a set of genuine lights in the boot. Do you know what? I'm going to brave the wind and open the boot. There you go, Mike's given me a set of phase 2 headlights. It's also given me a near side rear light, and randomly a complete, untouched, unpainted rear bumper, which at some point will be fitted, or it'll stay off, because actually this isn't too bad. This isn't too bad. What is bad, and this isn't been prepped for the video. I'm not going to say it's as I collected it from Mike, because he did wash it for me, but I've done nothing to it. This is as delivered. It's a lovely thing. My wife hates the colour. I'm a big fan of Barley Gold. I think it suits it. Can't wait to get to the back to black. I'm going to jump inside. There'll be no wind in there. We can do an interior. So, one thing you might notice is this actually works on this one. The black Safrane, if you remember, it never stays up. I've noticed that the black Safrane's got a hairline crack up there, which has just impacted its rigidity, and oh my god, it's hot in here. Whew, I'm going to open the door again. So that stays up on this. Another factor in this car, it's got electric seats. Number one is me. Number one is me. And if you hold it down, number 2, which just basically puts the backrest down to a teenager's position. I like it a bit more upright, as she said. Heated seats don't work at the moment. We'll get those fixed because heated seats are an absolute luxury. God, I've remembered how bad I am at these videos. Another upgrade. It's one of the guys, one of the previous owners, has clearly got a fascination with LEDs. He's got LED lights in random places. LED light in there, which I think is, again, I just don't like it. It's not period. And also LED lights in the rear door, but not, weirdly, in the front doors. Obviously that's another bonus of this car over the black one. It's got door puddle lights, which are joyful and triumphant. Let's fire the old girl up. I don't know if that comes out on video over the buffeting, but it's a lovely noise. I'm going to stand over here a minute, away from the wind, let you listen to that. What you can't appreciate on here is the smell. It managed to get through the emissions test by the skin of its teeth. I mean, the MOT test has said it won't pass next year. It's that borderline. I'm going to stand over here again because of the wind. Reason being, we think, is that Mike put a aftermarket, and he admitted, well, he didn't admit as such, he told me that it was a cheap catalytic converter, and it's clearly not fit for purpose. So we'll be upgrading that catalytic converter between now and the next MOT. Oh, one thing that Mike did, I'm going to give Mike full credit for this. I don't think this was a UK upgrade. Not the brochure, that's going to put down there, but look, it's got the rear sunblind, and I can't tell you how happy that makes me. Got a receipt from Germany for that. I've always wanted a Safrane with the rear sunblind. So if you're the Mr. Presidential, obviously have. Oh, I'm terrible at this. Try again. I'm going to edit that out, obviously. It's not something Mr. President can do with one hand. Mr. President's going to have to put his secretary down a minute. Yes, Mr. President, that's a two-handed job. Randomly the service light comes on. It does have some random, turn the aircon on. The aircon works. I wouldn't say it's ice cold, but it works. And then the air attack warning man.
Watch out, your seatbelt is not fastened. System malfunction. Consult your Renault dealer.
He says that often. He also tells me the air conditioning is not working. Although not today. Let's make a sound. So
Lights not switched off.
it's good service, isn't it? Genuinely a good service. Pretty poor introduction to the Safrane. Haphazard as always, blighted by the wind, hamstrung by the absence of a script or any plan whatsoever. I'm going to close now, and I'm going to do some sort of snippets that I can use to overlay in a second, but I'm determined to get more of these videos done. I've been terrible at doing them. I go to bed at night thinking I'm going to do a video tomorrow, and then there's a massive kind of psychological barrier when I pick up the phone to do it, or pick up the camera to do it, and it's just, I need to get over that barrier, especially when I've got really cool things to talk about. I've got so many cool things I want to talk about, including the car underneath here, which is getting slowly covered in swallow poo. They are back. And the car under here, which is now back on the road. If you follow me on Twitter at Major Gav, you'll have seen that. And obviously the car over there. I'm digressing and waffling now. So that's it. More updates on the 5-cylinder Safrane to come. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.